City of New Brunswick application.
Good afternoon now.
Hey, it's good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. Back.
How are you? I am back.
Hard time.
I have with me right now, I have Mitch Karen on the line, who's Executive Director of the New Brunswick Parking Authority. I have John Hoffman from my office, who represents the Parking Authority as the Redevelopment Council. And I believe Mr. T.K. Shammy, who is the General Counsel to the City of New Brunswick, is on the line as we speak as well. I'm not quite sure. But that will be all that will be joining us for the call.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Let's get everybody sworn in. Yep.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Pursuant to the provisions of 40:11A-4.1 of the Parking Authority's Law 40A-12A-4C of the Local Redevelopment and Housing Law and 40A-5A-1 of the Local Authority's Fiscal Control Law, the City of New Brunswick desires to appoint the Parking Authority of the City of New Brunswick as the redevelopment entity to implement the new Redmond 2 redevelopment plan, which plan was submitted with our application to carry out the projects that are set forth in the plan. The plan is related to an area in need of rehabilitation, of which the entire city has been designated an area in need of rehabilitation pursuant to 40A-12A-14B of the redevelopment law. The plan envisions the development of 3 separate projects. 2 will be office buildings on block 144 of the city. And by the way, the entire plan pretty much relates to block 144 and various lots therein, and block 145.01 and various lots therein. So the 2 office buildings will be located on block 144 in the city, and the third will be a parking deck to be built on block 145.01 within the city that will have the capacity to house about 1,000 vehicles. None of the projects involve housing at all. Section 4812A-4 of the redevelopment law provides that a municipality is responsible for implementing redevelopment plans and carrying out projects within its jurisdiction. However, a municipality, pursuant to the law, may in lieu thereof designate a redevelopment agency, parking authority, a municipal housing authority to implement redevelopment plans and carry out redevelopment projects on behalf of a municipality. But there should only be one entity for each separate project. A parking authority is authorized to exercise such powers pursuant to their statute, specifically section 4.1 thereof. In accordance with the parking authority law, a municipality may by ordinance authorize a parking authority to serve as a redevelopment entity under the redevelopment law and to exercise redevelopment powers within an area of redevelopment or rehabilitation, subject to the review and approval of local finance board pursuant to the local authority's fiscal control law. The city traditionally designates its municipal housing authority to serve as a redevelopment entity to implement redevelopment projects and carry out those projects. However, the city in this particular instance has decided to designate the parking authority to implement the plan for this specific project because the plan does not include any development of housing. There's no housing component to this plan. The authority itself has been integral in various redevelopment projects in downtown New Brunswick for the last 3 decades and has been involved in many public-private partnership construction projects, including the Gateway Parking Garage, the Wellness Center Garage, the New Street Parking Garage, and the Mara Street Parking Garage. The authority has significant experience in overseeing the construction and development of parking garages, most of which contain office space as well. Given the parking component of the plan and the authority's experience and expertise in developing parking garages and commercial spaces, and a lack of housing associated with the plan, the city believed that the authority is the best choice to serve as the redevelopment entity to implement this particular plan. With that being said, and this particular designation is specific to this plan. The city is not providing a larger latitude to the authority to represent the city's redevelopment entity for any other project other than the particular project set forth in this plan. The city decides to do so in the future, they will seek approval from local finance board for such designation related to such projects at that point in time. But this approval is specifically related to the implementation of this current redevelopment plan, as stated earlier. If the authority is designated as the redevelopment entity, the commissioners and executive director will undertake the course requirements set forth in sections 46 and 47 of the redevelopment law, which require applicants seeking employment to submit to criminal history background checks, also subject to provisions of the redevelopment law. The authority does not plan to hire any additional employees to assist in implementing the plan. The executive director and the authority staff, who all have significant experience in public-private partnerships and overseeing these construction type projects, will oversee the development of these particular projects. Hence this will not at all impact the authority's budget by taking on this additional responsibility. The authority will also have a conflict of interest policy in place to make sure that its commissioners and officers do not have any conflicts related to the implementation of these projects. On September 3rd, the city produced an ordinance implementing and designating the authority to serve as a redevelopment entity. And so therefore, pursuant to the parking law, the redevelopment law, and the local authority fiscal control law, the city and the authority are requesting the local finance board approval to authorize the city to designate the authority as a redevelopment entity to implement the new Redmond 2 redevelopment plan. With that being said, I will turn it over to the authority, to the board for any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I guess, what was the rationale of the city to designate the parking authority for this specific project? Given, I understand the parking component, but this is the first of its kind to designate the parking authority for a redevelopment plan, correct, in the city? Is that correct, Mr. Johnson? Did I hear that?
Yes, this is the first time
Okay.
the authority has been designated as redevelopment entity for this. And as I mentioned earlier, not just the parking garage component, but there's no housing component. Traditionally, the
understand
housing
that.
authority is, and that there being no housing, it really didn't make sense for housing authority to oversee office buildings in the garage.
Understood. And
Whereby
previously,
the garages have office buildings.
right. So previously, with the parking structures that were built by the parking authority, they have some office component to them. Am I hearing that correctly?
The majority
Okay.
of them, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they felt they had the qualifications to handle this on behalf of the city, and that's why they are choosing to designate them.
That is correct.
Okay. And you said there's no additional employees that will be hired as a result. You're going to do this with existing staff. I guess my only question is, as far as the estimated budget costs, it looks like it's just legal counsel. Is that, it looks kind of low as far as the estimated costs is, but I just didn't know how you came up with the $7,500.
That's more for the application itself.
Okay.
There's no, and obviously we're redevelopment council, so we're overseeing the project, but that'll be built separately out of the authority's budget. That's not for services related to, all redevelopment services provided to the authority in this matter. That's
So it's
really
just for the application. Got it.
Correct.
I've overseen a lot of legal invoices in my life, and I've never seen for a redevelopment project something so low. So that explains it. And I presume the authority would pursue some type of escrow agreement with the designated redeveloper, correct? That's generally how you can get your costs covered.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. do not have any additional questions, so I'll turn it over to the board, the public at this time.
Hello, Charlie Cradaville. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hi there. I'm a New Brunswick resident, editor of New Brunswick Today. If I can ask a couple questions, and I think I'll start by just correcting a couple things I heard that I don't think are correct, and maybe we can clarify. The Parking Authority does not have a redevelopment council. I heard Mr. Hoffman introduced in that way. Isn't it true that he's the bond council, not the redevelopment council?
I'm special counsel to the Parking Authority for all projects, including this redevelopment.
Okay, so you were appointed special counsel at the reorganization
I have
meeting?
I've been special counsel for any particular projects, and they've now expanded that to the redevelopment because of my redevelopment experience.
Okay. I also heard that the Parking Authority has a majority of its facilities that have an office component to it. I don't believe that's correct. I know the Plum Street parking deck is connected to medical offices. The Gateway parking deck has some Rutgers offices and the Parking Authority's own offices. And the NB Pack deck has some county offices, but Patterson Street, Lower Church Street, New Street, Wellness, and Morris, that, correct me if I'm wrong, those decks do not have any office component connected to them. Is that true?
Well, then, if I
I'll refer to
may
Ms. Karen,
speak,
Executive Director.
yeah, if I may
Go
speak,
ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Cradaville, they've been part of larger projects in which the parking supply for the New Street Garage was the family courthouse, where the wellness garage is for the gym, as well as Morris Street is for the residential Rockoff, the old Rockoff Hall, they used to call it. So the majority of our garages that were built were to supply parking to either attached or nearby projects.
Understood. It's just there's a difference between an office and a courthouse. There's a difference between an office and a gym, and there's a difference between an office and housing. It was represented that a majority of the authority's garages are connected to office projects, and so I don't think that was accurate. I wanted to correct the record. If I may, I do want to speak against this to the board chair. Is there like a time limit, or you know,
Yeah,
how
if you
long
could
I
just
could go
keep
on
it-
for a long time?
Yeah, no, I would prefer you keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. So, thank you.
Fine. Okay. Yeah, I'll be brief. So yeah, as stated, the New Brunswick Parking Authority has never served in this role before, and they have a questionable history when it comes to redevelopment projects where they have been involved. After borrowing extensively to build a couple of garages with associated commercial space, the authority was left holding the bag after not one but two supermarket operators failed and closed, in each case owing more than $1 million in back rent and fees to the authority that, to my knowledge, has never been recovered. A number of other New Brunswick Parking Authority tenants, commercial tenants, have also left without paying their full rent. And I know the authority had counted on that rent in part to pay back those bonds. The authority did have to delay its annual pilot payment to the city in 2020. It's also demonstrated that it has a working relationship with the county that is shaky at best, given their history with that supermarket space. The county had agreed to rent it and paid rent for 3 months, and then said, we're actually dissatisfied, there's junk left here, and we didn't get the keys, and they stopped paying rent. The authority, even though it was in the lease that the fit-up costs would be paid by the county, the authority spent more than $500,000 doing demolition work and try to get the space ready, and then the county pulled out and ultimately never rented the space. It's sitting there vacant, prime real estate right across from our train station that is not bringing in any revenue or serving any function for the community. And the proposed project that they want you to give them permission to be in charge of is ostensibly a county office building built by a private developer. This developer represented that the county is going to rent either the full building or much of the building, and they were already in a redevelopment process that was being overseen by the housing authority when the city council decided to change that. I'm concerned because our housing authority has finally begun to hold developers accountable to their redevelopment agreements. And again, this agency has no experience with it. With all due respect to Mr. Karen, he is an interim executive director. We don't know how much longer he'll be with the agency. And he's also a part-time executive director. So the agency has an uncertain future. And as I said in the past, they've struggled to make commercial real estate ventures successful. There's a lot of open questions as to how much this is going to cost the parking authority to build the deck, and also what kind of timeline this is going to be done on without an experienced redevelopment agency supervising it. I fear that it could end up in not the best place for the residents and the taxpayers. I'm also not thrilled about the idea of another 1,000-space parking garage. We have we're the parking deck capital in New Jersey as it is, and I think these decks are tying us to car culture, and also predominantly serving out-of-towners and not the residents. So I have serious concerns about the parking authority being in charge of this. I'm also concerned about their compliance with laws like the Open Public Records Act. I have requests from August that I'm still waiting on, and I know that they have not properly gotten their parking enforcement officers eligibility certified by the police chief. So every ticket they're giving out is challengeable. And they're also part of the biggest insurance boondoggle in the joint insurance fund history, the Middlesex County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. And as one of the final 5 members of that entity, they may be on the hook for millions of dollars that is basically unaccounted for due to mismanagement, bad actuarial work, and poor auditing. And so given all those factors, I would hesitate, and I would ask this board to ask themselves, has a parking authority in New Jersey ever successfully overseen a redevelopment project? And if this is going to be the first in the state, I would caution you to think twice before you grant the approval. And thank you for hearing me out. I'm happy to take any questions if I didn't explain anything clearly.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Cronville. I will, that's your time. I'm going to just give the opportunity for New Brunswick applicant if they want to address anything about those comments, but we will move on from there. So would anybody like to address?
I would
some of
just
the things
say
raised?
a few things,
Sure.
and then I'll defer to Mr. Hoffman or Mr. Karen to chime in if they so choose to do so. One, the statute and it allows for parking authorities to serve as redevelopment entities. It's legally allowed to do so, and the city has the preemptive right to authorize their parking authority to do so. And they intend to do so, and they've adopted legislation to do so. So obviously the city has the confidence in the authority. And, I would assume that these comments were probably addressed to the city council as well. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but my point is that the law allows it and the city supports it. To the extent that the housing authority has, as the gentleman just said, been enforcing redevelopment agreements. I know Mr. Hoffman, I believe you are the redevelopment counsel for the housing authority of New Brunswick. Is that accurate?
I have been, yes, for over 35 years.
Correct. So the expertise that you've lent to the housing authority over the last 35 years that have brought them to the place they are now, you're also lending that same expertise to the parking authority. And so to the extent that the housing authority has been successful in implementing these agreements, I suspect that you're going to make sure the parking authority will be just as successful in doing so for these projects.
That's correct.
And so I don't have anything else to add other than that. Unless Mr. Karen or Mr. Hoffman wants to say anything, please feel free to do so.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Nothing else to add.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Cronville, and thank you for the response. I'm not hearing any questions from the board. Anyone else? All right. I guess I'll put, do we have a motion to permit the authorization of the city's parking authority to serve as the redevelopment entity for the new Redmond 2 redevelopment plan?
So move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Duraco. Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
Mr. Duraco,
Yes.
Mr. Close,
Yes.
Mr. Avery,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
yes,
and Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Johnson. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.